Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamerspro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. So I want to start off with this awful announcing article and then continues on, and it says, Max Kellerman has been out of the public eye since he was let go by ESPN last summer. Kellerman held a lot of roles on ESPN over the years. Most recently, he hosted an afternoon TV show, This Just In, with Max Kellerman, and co-hosted morning show Keyshawn Johnson, J. Will, and Max on ESPN Radio until his departure from the network in June 2023. Recently, Brian Kenny told Brandon Contest of Awful Announcing Podcast that Kellerman would emerge from the shadows later this year, but what that entails remains to be seen. For now, ESPN is paying Max Kellerman essentially to go away and be shelved for the duration of his contract. For his contract has drawn a lot of responses, including from Dan Le Batard. The host of the Dan Le Batard show with Stu Gatz revealed Wednesday that ESPN asked him something similar when they were negotiating his exit from the network. Max Kellerman, at the center of those debate show wars, was collateral damage on something. Le Batard said in a conversation on his show with Miami radio host Jonathan Soslow. If you were watching what was happening to us at ESPN, they tried to kill Max Kellerman after we left by giving him the morning sports radio show. And the reason I bring you into this, Zaslow, is because I believe ESPN's strategy of figuring out the most people are disposable, including they're saying Stephen A. Smith, when Burke Magnus talked about, go on without Stephen A. Smith publicly. You are the beneficiary of what it is that's changed at ESPN. When they have realized that they can get a person who's a professional radio host, and they don't have to give Max Kellerman's of the world the morning radio slot. Max Kellerman was a prodigy in this business. Max Kellerman is Exhibit A on how you have to be careful about how disposable the pieces can be. The original incarnation of Around the Horn was with Max Kellerman as host. He thought he was more valuable than that. He was a prodigy. He was a prodigy in sports television and sports radio. And according to to Le Batard, ESPN's response to Kellerman's overestimating his worth was to pluck Tony Reali, a pardon the interruption intern, straight out of the office hallway. Reali has since become the face of Around the Horn for the last 20 years. And I just want to quickly see what this other article had to say from The Spun. It just basically went on to say, when ESPN parted ways with Max Kellerman, many sports fans were surprised. Kellerman had been a staple at ESPN for years, appearing on multiple shows and in several different segments. He had his own show covering his favorite sport, boxing, in the months leading up to his dismissal. Kellerman also hosted a morning show with Keyshawn Johnson and Jay Williams, and another former ESPN personality says that time slot was the beginning of the end of Kellerman. Max Kellerman, at the center of those debate wars, was collateral damage on something, said Lebertard on his radio show, speaking to Miami radio host Jonathan Soslow. And that article goes on to say a few other things there. Look, it was clear. It was clear that Max Kellerman wasn't going to make it on ESPN. It was absolutely clear. When you give him that time slot, it's very, very hard to perform well in that time slot, right? I think now the people that replaced him, I think, are the Pat McAfee show. I think the Pat McAfee show currently occupy that time slot, but it's a very difficult one to do well in, right? There are some shows, however, that have figured it out. If you look at First Things First on FS1, with Kevin Wiles, Nick Wright, and Chris Broussard, they do a fantastic job, but it's a very, very difficult time slot, right? And I think a lot of people, you see, I think during the cord cutting that took place at ESPN, there were a lot of big names that I think people were upset that they left. Mark Jackson, Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose, Max Kellerman. But I think what made it worse, or rather what made it different with Max, is the dynamic that existed between himself and Stephen A. Smith, and the things that Stephen A. Smith had gone on to say after Max Kellerman's departure. That's what kind of created a different scenario. I think that also plays into the fact that plays into the whole kind of movement of people wanting Max Kellerman to come back stronger than ever. As you guys know, Undisputed will be parting ways with Skip Bayless next month. So that seat will be empty. They didn't say they're canceling the show. They said that seat will be empty. And I said on some of the shows surrounding, when we're breaking the story, I said that I felt like, look, if they're looking at any possible replacements, I think that they should look in the direction of Max Kellerman. I said it then, and I'm going to say it now. I really, really honestly believe that they should look in his direction. Number one, he has direct experience hosting a morning show like that with ESPN First Take. He did that for 5 years. Number two, you're replacing a journalist with another journalist, which means that he can talk about every single sport: boxing, basketball, baseball, football, tennis, whatever it is. You need a guy like that to kind of anchor the show. Max Kellerman fits that role perfectly. Another reason why I think he should get that position is because of his personality, and I think that he will be able to push back much easier on people like Paul Pierce and on people like Keyshawn Johnson. I don't think Skip Bayless stands. I think Skip Bayless stands no chance with those guys. I think Max Kellerman will be able to hold his own and really give those guys a run for their money, which I personally believe will make the format more interesting to watch. Because if I'm keeping it funky with you guys, the show these days is quite boring. Yes, I like the addition of Paul Pierce. He makes the show quite interesting at times, but overall the show is boring. And I think that if you bring in a guy like Max Kellerman, it would bring a lot of excitement back to that show. This is just my personal view here. But based on some of the things that Dan Lebertard said, who is someone that used to work at ESPN, it was clear that ESPN was sending a message to Max Kellerman, and not just Max, to a lot of people, that you guys are replaceable. Hell, they did it to Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson, and they replaced them with J.J. Redick and I think Doris Burke. Now, Doris Burke obviously is a seasoned veteran when it comes to covering sports, but I think that given the criticism, the heavy criticism that ESPN received of their coverage during the NBA Finals, I think no one with a straight face will argue that they missed Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy dearly. This is going to be one of them shows. They're going to be a lot of wrestling. I ain't say wrestling, a lot of wrestling going on in the comment section with these Bears, man. Get ready for it. It's going to be one of them. So, what happened? Yesterday, this morning, I woke up and one of our viewers sent me a picture. Right? Sent me a post from Clutch Points. Right? And this post essentially said, and I want to show you the post itself. It says, he was treated as someone apart, not like all of us. Anonymous Lakers Summer League player says. So the person sends me this post, right? And then I'm like, okay, that's what the post said. Let me go see if there's an article to it, right? Because there must be an article that's talking about this. So I find an article on fadeawayworld.net, and I want to read you the important parts. Let me read it. It says, the attention he attracted was very frustrating for the players to see, and his alleged start treatment caused friction amongst the team, which went 0-5 to start the tournament, per Lakers insider wrote Steven Brenner of The Sun. That kind of tension didn't help the group of players build chemistry, said an anonymous Lakers player, and you could feel that there was no unity between this group of guys, as Bronny was the main guy and the others didn't feel that it was right, that he deserved that. Along the way, Bronny's reps made the guard unavailable for media availability on several occasions, which the sources labeled as not nice towards his teammates and other franchise members. With dealing with Bronny's attention and treatment, plenty of the other young guys that are trying to make the roster for next season couldn't show their best side and show their A game. Right? So that's what that article said there. Then I went back to the post. And when I went back to that post that we just showed you on Clutch Points, I started to read the comments. And ladies and gentlemen, you would not believe what some of these LeBron fans were saying in those comments, because I just couldn't believe it. So let me get into some of the things that these guys were saying in the comment section, because it's just hilarious. One person says, he has the mouth to yap, but doesn't have the balls to give his name or even step to Bronny and tell him and tell it to his face. Laughing my ass off. Come on now. Another person said, why he acting like Bronny had plays ran for him majority of the summer league. Majority of the summer league, Bronny was sat in the corner and played good defense, making fake stories to bring down one of your teammates. I see exactly why he didn't have plays run for him, and why he probably will be a summer league veteran. Maybe he should focus on his own game instead of jumping on the Bronny hate train. Another person said, it looks like hate to me. Another person said, reality is Bronny has a guaranteed contract with the Lakers, so he's not a typical summer league player. You know, they try to come for him there. Of course, he ain't one of y'all. He's LeBron James Jr. Another person said, put your name on it. Somebody who won't be making the team anyway. I'm pretty sure that's how all summer league teams go. I know the media and fans was focusing on Bronny, not the anonymous player. Another person said, if you're going to say something, at least don't be anonymous. Stop. He's scary. Another person said, reveal who the player was. What another person said, man, they're hating for real. You could see it on the court. Another person said, another useless post. Bronny already won in life. Nothing matters now. 19 years old with the millions of dollars. Another person said, cry me a river. Welcome to life, buddy. Your lesson from this should be let me great so many kids benefit from it. Okay, whatever. That's what our culture has to understand. Nepotism isn't going anywhere. The owner of the Lakers came from the owner of the Lakers. You think she really earned that team? Stop crying and ball harder, young man. And then people just kept on going on and saying, you know, tough luck, that's life, and all of these different things, right? So what are my thoughts on what these people had to say in the comment section? First of all, none of this surprises me. None of this surprises me. LeBron fans are not going to give up, man. They are not going to give up. I see them every day producing shows, doing lives that nobody watches. You know, they're not going to give up. And what I realize is their support is everlasting, man. It's like they got a family coverage plan. You know, it's like health insurance. Like they got an insurance plan. It's like we cover LeBron, and then we cover the entire family. We pour the honey pour all over all of us, all of them, right? That's how they do it. You know, and they ready to go to war for LeBron, man. I told you, these dudes be in the woods fighting with bears for honey, man. Seriously. They be in the woods wrestling bears for honey. Running through the hallways, screaming and hollering, twerking it up all over the place, knocking over tables, pushing people through doors. Just all kind of craziness, right? All in the name of defense. Now, here's what gets me about this entire story. This guy, the anonymous player, is talking about unfairness that existed, and these people are talking about, so what it existed? You're just a hater. It's like, forget about the fact that he's talking about the unfairness that exists. No, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. How dare you? If at least if you have the balls, put your really. So he is going to go out there and put his name on it, which will further ensure that he doesn't make it. Like, let's make sense of it all. He going to go out there, put his name on it. A player that's on a summer league team trying to make the roster is going to have some critical words of the way LeBron's son is being handled and all of that. And somehow, some way, he's supposed to make it on the roster? Like, are we being for real? Y'all would have been better off just telling them to shut the hell up and move on. But this is where we are, man. This is where we are. It amazes me how people love to defend this elitist culture and mindset. It amazes me. It really amazes, and it shows you how people's brains have been fried. You know, if something is unfair, it's unfair. You're not telling me he should just basically shut up. If you're not going to put your face out there, just shut up. Don't even comment on it. Really? One of the commenters said, oh, he's already a maid in life, and da-da-da. This is the thing. Look. This is the thing that gets me about this entire story. Does nepotism exist in the world? Absolutely. Absolutely, you better bet on it. It absolutely exists. But nepotism becomes even more egregious when people feel like you may not deserve it. There are people that are in positions because of their fathers or this mothers or whatever it is, and they actually go on in those positions and really take it to the next level. And then there are other people in certain positions, and you're like, the only reason you're here is because of your last name or your mom's name or your father's name. Those are the people that people find it hard to respect. And that's what's taking place here, right? People talking about, why is LeBron, why aren't there any other 50-50? I thought it's quite obvious that the reason they're talking about LeBron's son is because of LeBron's son. We understand that. So there's no mystery here about it. But again, what surprises me is the fact that people keep defending elites. Y'all are defending something that in reality you would not benefit from. I don't understand people defending that. I don't get it. If you have 10 people going for a job position, 9 of them are qualified. The other person is not as qualified as the other 9, but that one person gets the job because it's so his father's company or his mother's company. What would be crazy to me is to hear the other 9 say, well, they deserve it. You know, that's life. That's life. They deserve that spot. They deserve to get it because it's, that's nepotism for you. Go on to nepotism. You would have to be a flagrant idiot to say something like that because you'll be rooting against your own interests, which these people are doing, which further shows you the lathering of honey is immense. Do you know how many bears these people have knocked out in the woods? Matter of fact, when bears see these people coming, they start running because they just know they're going to be up there trying to snatch that honey and rub it all over their backs and twerk it up all over the back. Matter of fact, they don't even beat up. They knock the bears to the ground and start twerking over them with the honey. This is where we at with it. Right now, the basketball conversation is kind of simmered down. As you guys know, during Summer League, Bronny James was the biggest thing in the NBA, it seemed, right? He was the biggest story. Everybody was talking about him. We were talking about it. Gil's Arena was talking about it. ESPN was talking about it. FS1 everybody was talking about Bronny James, right? Because he was a lightning rod for attention, right? And there were various kind of, storylines surrounding him. One of the storylines was, was it nepotism that got him on the team? LeBron basically forced the Lakers to put him on the team. Initially, when he started playing those first few Summer League games, he looked horrendous. It brought on a lot of criticism, and then he picked it up. He started performing better, and then the criticism kind of simmered down. But then something interesting happened this morning. I was doing some research here, and I came across a pretty interesting. No. Yesterday, one of our viewers sent me a post from Clutch Points that was centered on some anonymous comments that was made by a Laker player during the Summer League that was talking about the preferential treatment that Bronny James was receiving over the other players. So then I did some research and I came across an article from fadeawayworld.net, and it says anonymous Lakers player speaks out over Bronny James's special treatment. So let me get into what this article has to say here. It says Bronny James has been one of the biggest stories of the summer after going the 55th overall to the Lakers. But after completing his first ever summer league stint, one Laker player is speaking out on supposed preferential treatment. The attention he attracted was very frustrating for players to see, and his alleged star treatment caused friction among them, which went 0 of 5 to start the tournament, per a Laker insider, wrote Steve Brenner of the U.S. Sun. That kind of tension didn't help the group of players to build chemistry, said an anonymous Lakers player, and you could feel that there was no unity between this group of guys, as Bronny was the main guy and the others didn't feel that it was right, that he deserved that. Along the way, Bronny's reps made the guard unavailable for media availability on several occasions, which the source labeled as not nice towards his teammates and other franchise members, wrote Brenner. With dealing with Bronny's attention and treatment, plenty of the other young guys that are trying to make the roster for next season couldn't show their best side and show their A game. As the son of basketball royalty, it is no surprise that Bronny came in with a massive spotlight over his head as the first father-son tandem on an NBA roster. They are on the verge of history together, and it becomes a popular storyline to follow. So you heard what this article and what the quotes had to say. I just want to quickly look at another one where it said, I'm going to go back to quickly where it said, along the way, Bronny's reps made the guard unavailable for media availability on several occasions, which the source labeled as not nice towards his teammates and other franchise members. With dealing with Bronny's attention and treatment, plenty of the other young guys that are trying to make the roster for next season couldn't show their best side and show their A side. So you heard what this article had to say. What are my thoughts on this? Well, this is no surprise because we could see it from the outside, right? We could see it. Bronny was being marketed heavily. Why? Because look, Bronny is LeBron James' son. LeBron James is a money-making machine for the NBA. And as it turns out, his son seems to be following in that footstep. Whether he's a good player or not is irrelevant. He still has the name, right? He still has the name. And in the NBA and in sports, that name holds a lot of weight. So when you're LeBron James' son, who I believe is still the face of the NBA, people are going to market him. People are going to want to talk about him. People are going to want to have a lot of attention on him, right? So if you watch a basketball game, for instance, one of those summer league games, any little thing that Bronny does is going to receive a lot of attention. But there may be other players on the team that are doing even better things, and they're not going to receive any attention at all because it's not the storyline, right? And maybe some of these players feel like, look, this is unfair, right? We're all out here. We're trying to do the best. We're trying to, ensure that we can get a spot on, one of these teams next year. And then this guy's getting all of the praise and then getting all the attention. And then you match it with the fact that, he's getting preferential treatment. It doesn't sit well with some of those guys, which is understandable. I think that if you were in that position, you would feel the same way. Look, I said this entire thing, yes, nepotism played a role, but I think a lot of people that are defending it are not defending nepotism. What they're defending is elitism, right? I've been saying this. They're defending elitism because no one with any sense would defend nepotism if it was working against them. Of course not. People are defending the powerful exercising their power to stay at the top. And essentially that's what's happening. What is surprising, however, is people that have no such power and will never have this kind of power supporting the elites. These are the sheep of society, right? These are the sheep of society. And that's just the way, the cookie crumbles, right? That's just the way it crumbles. And none of this surprises me. None of it whatsoever. What then becomes hilarious is when people try to make it seem like it's something else. Like, no. That's not what's really taking place here. You got to look at his marriage. You got to look at all that. And then people are like, okay, listen, cut it out. Like, stop the nonsense. right? Stop the nonsense. And I believe that's really what's taking place here. If that's what that player felt, that's what he felt. And I think it is his prerogative to feel whatever way he wants to feel. So